Understood, Bhante. Thank you very much.
All right. You are welcome.
One person writes, today at sitting, I saw nothing but a healing light. I saw no me, no body, but endless healing light. I realized the light is comfortable, but maybe not permanent. Then I started to hesitate. Should I focus on mindfulness and on breath, or should I stay in this light?
When you stay with the light, you won't gain anything new. It doesn't develop insight. You may feel very comfortable and relaxed and peaceful and serene and so on. That would make you comfortable. That is okay. But if you want to use the time to improve your practice, increase your insight, wisdom, then you may go to the breath, feeling, perceptions, and so on, and see them constantly changing. And that way you deepen your understanding of insight. Okay.
Thank you, Bhante.
You are welcome.
Another question. In advice to Puna, Majjhima Nikaya 145, it seems like very extreme patience, almost like making yourself a doormat. Can you explain this sutta, please?
Puna was the one who went to Sunaparanta, where people were reported to be hostile, arrogant. So when he went there, before he went there, Buddha asked him where he was going. Sunaparanta, and Buddha said, people there are very wild. If they use abusive language, what are you going to do? He said, Venerable, it is very good that they use abusive language rather than beating me up. Buddha said, if they beat you up, then he said, it is very good that they beat me up without killing me. Then Buddha, suppose they kill you, Venerable, many people are trying to kill themselves. This body is going to die anyway. So it will be very wonderful for me to die there, doing something very noble. Then Buddha says, Puna, you are the right person to go there, you go. So this simile of doormat is used by Venerable Sariputta. One day Venerable Sariputta was falsely accused by somebody, then also accused him being arrogant. Then in front of the Buddha, Venerable Sariputta said that, Venerable said, I am like a doormat, I am like a broom, I am like a slave girl, I am like a bull without horns, and so forth. He gave 10 similes to explain his humility, and therefore, how can I do anything to hurt anybody? So he bowed down to the monk who accused him in front of the Buddha and asked him to forgive him if he did something wrong to him inadvertently. So that was Venerable Sariputta's humility. There he used this simile of doormat. Any other question?
So that sutta refers to the importance of patience and humility?
Surely. Patience and humility is, patience is explained in more, what do you call, striking simile in Kakachupama Sutta, where he said if somebody were to cut your limbs one by one with a saw, at that time, if you lose your temper and become impatient, you are not following my advice. That means one has to be that much patient, even while cutting limbs, he would not lose temper and get angry. That is the very stark simile that Buddha used to explain how somebody should practice patience.
Thank you, Bhante.
You're welcome.
Here's a good perennial question for you, Bhante. What steps should we take to further improve our concentration?
You see, I mentioned several times, it is very simple. You use one particular object to focus your mind until your hindrances will subside. When the hindrances are subsided, then you gain concentration very easily. That is the simplest way that I can tell you, but otherwise, in detail, there are ways of overcoming hindrances and preparing your seat, practicing morality, and attending to teachers, and your consistency, sitting in one place. All these things are details. But the summary of, in simple language, is to have good moral background. At least lay people must observe the 5 precepts very diligently, and then choose a place and then start focusing your mind on your breathing. As I said, breath is a good subject for both tranquility meditation and vipassana meditation. As also I mentioned yesterday, I don't know whether you were there, that when you practice anapanasati, you gain concentration 7 times. For 4 times. In the first tetrad, you get you achieve 7 factors of enlightenment. Second tetrad, you practice 7 factors of enlightenment. Third tetrad and fourth tetrad, in each tetrad, you gain the 7 factors of enlightenment, one of which is samadhi, concentration. So the breath, therefore, is a very good subject for gaining insight as well as concentration. And so when you sit in certain place with steady posture and start focusing your mind, and then you have to do it very diligently, exclusively paying your attention to the breath. And then your hindrances will subside, you gain concentration. That is your, then as soon as you gain the first jhana, you see your thought of generosity, thought of loving friendliness, thought of compassion begin to function in you, not words, but these function in you as factors. And then joy, happiness, and concentration. These are 5 factors that arise in your jhana, and 5 factors you overcome. The factors you overcome are 5 hindrances. The factors you gain are the 5 jhanic factors. That is the simplest way, but with dedication you can gain it.
Thank you, Bhante.
You are welcome.
Shall we begin meditating together?
Is it time? Yes. You see, friends, once again, we all sit in comfortable posture and don't think of anything that you had been doing before, nor should you think of what you are going to do after. Simply sit in a position and pay total mindful attention to your breathing, and then we recite the Metta in English. I recite, those who remember can join me, otherwise you join me in your mind. May all beings be happy and secure. May all beings have happy minds. Whatever living beings there may be, without exception, weak or strong, long, large, medium, short, subtle or gross, visible or invisible, living near or far, born or coming to birth, may all beings have happy minds. Let no one deceive another, nor despise anyone, neither from anger nor ill will should anyone wish harm to another. As a mother would risk her own life to protect her only child, even so towards all living beings, one should cultivate a boundless heart. One should cultivate for all the world a heart of boundless loving friendliness, above, below, and all around, unobstructed, without hatred and resentment. Whether standing, walking, sitting, lying down, or whenever awake, one should develop this mindfulness. This is called divinely dwelling here, not falling into erroneous views, but virtuous and endowed with vision, removing desires for sensual pleasures. One comes never again to birth in the womb. As I said, these are the thought that we have to cultivate with very sincere intention, wishing all living beings to be free from pain, suffering, and afflictions. And then we focus on our breathing. When we inhale, we notice inhaling. When the lungs are full, inhaling cuts off. After a very brief pause, exhaling begins. At the end of exhaling, there will be another brief pause, then inhaling begins. This is the pattern that repeats again and again all along in our breathing. And then we notice the sensation of feeling that arises along with the breath. We can notice breath only when we feel the breath. And then we perceive the breath mentally. Then we pay attention to it, deliberate attention, and then we are conscious of our breathing. The breath is called body, feeling is feeling aggregate, perception aggregate, volitional formations aggregate, and consciousness aggregate. All the five aggregates function in each inhaling, each exhaling. This is the simplest way I can put five aggregates into the practice. And then every time we breathe in and out, all these five aggregates and the breath change. They don't stay even for 2 consecutive moments, always changing non-stop. And then the breath becomes calm, body becomes calm, mind becomes calm and relaxed. Notice in this calm, relaxed mind and body, we breathe in and out. Since there is nothing else for us to think, all our hindrances such as greed, resentment, restlessness and worry, sleepiness and drowsiness, and doubt, all subside temporarily, and then mind becomes even more clear, relaxed, peaceful. You gain a degree of concentration with the feeling of letting go. Everything disappears. When they disappear, we let them go. It happens very naturally unless we increase our desire, try to hold on to them. Otherwise, they all appear and disappear. When disappear, we deliberately let them go. That is our like a generosity. Then metta, loving friendliness, we feel that we are filled with metta towards all living beings, especially today. And then you feel compassion for those suffering beings. Then you have a degree of joy, happiness, and concentration. And this is how you gain concentration. With these few words of instructions, let us sit together, meditate together as one body, one unit, one group. Dukkha patta cha nidukkha, bhaya patta cha nibhaya, soka patta cha nisoka, hontu sabbe pipanino. May the suffering be free from suffering. May the fear-struck be free from fear. May the grieving be free from grief. So too may all beings be. These are our very earnest, sincere wish for all beings, especially those who are victims of this COVID-19, and may they be free from their this disease, and may they live long in good health. May all those who support them to recover from their ill, doctors, nurses, their assistants, hospitals, and people who strive very hard to find vaccine to cure this disease. May their effort be successful very quickly. May all those who take leadership in many different ways, political and otherwise, be very wise to make right decision to remedy this, wipe this out from earth. May all of them be well, happy and peaceful, and return to their regular normal activities and live long in very good health. Now, friends, it is time to have a discussion or ask me questions.
Bhante, as a follow-on to a question asked this morning, This person would like to know if it's necessary to learn Abhidhamma and whether it helps our meditation practice.
I must repeat what I said this morning. When you learn Abhidhamma, you can analyze everything to the very minute parts, like atom, if possible, like atomists. And then you can use this knowledge to enhance your practice. But nowhere have we studied in the Buddha's sutta discourses that one should have knowledge of Abhidhamma, attain liberation, making the practice successful. Many people without any knowledge of Abhidhamma or even any knowledge of Dhamma, just by listening to Dhamma or discussing Dhamma, attain liberation, attain state of enlightenment. And therefore, I once again must say, learning Abhidhamma is not absolutely necessary. But if somebody has time, energy, curiosity to learn and analyze the Dhamma, they may learn, and if they can apply their knowledge to see impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and selflessness, by all means they can study, but not absolutely necessary. Although some people think without the knowledge of Abhidhamma you cannot attain liberation. They even say only those who know Abhidhamma know the Dhamma. That may not be 100% correct. What one has to know is dependent origination, which of course is explained in Abhidhamma text as well as in Sutta text. And when you have the knowledge of dependent origination, that certainly open your awareness or your insight. That is what Vipassana Bodhisattva did. He started with the aging and death and birth, clinging and so forth, and went up to the Nama Rupa and Vijnana, and then he said, this is the path, inside path, Vipassana Magga, for attaining liberation. So it opens your mindfulness and to overcome your hindrances and fetters totally, completely, and attain liberation.
Thank you, Bhante. Speaking of dependent origination, one person asks to awaken or to attain a state of enlightenment. Can one break any of the links in the chain?
Independent origination, yes. The Buddha sometimes start with feeling, sometimes with perception. From any part you can start, but you have to see very clearly until you destroy your ignorance, you cannot attain liberation. So when we practice or see dependent origination, you will see how ignorance and craving are connected with one another. For instance, ignorance arises at the same time desire arises to commit all unwholesome or wholesome karmas. And therefore, when you see one part of dependent origination, you can see it is connected with another part. For instance, ignorance definitely is the cause and condition for volitional formations and desire. You can see in your own experience. Ignorance is the cause of all our suffering and binding to samsara. Dependent origination, very simple formula. I repeated several times in Pali. Imasming sati idang hoti, imassa uppada idang uppajjati, imassa nirodha idang nirujjati. Here, Buddha said, when this arises, this arises. That means both happen at the same time. He did not say when this arises, that arises. He said this when this is in the Udana Pali. First three discourses talked about dependent origination. So there you see this formula. When this arises, this arises. When this is arising, this is arising. When this is passing away, this is passing away. All in the present moment. And then you can see any time, for example, this when this arises is such as algebraic formula. When you have x equal to y and z, you put this formula into numbers or figures. Similarly, when you see this, when this arises, you can get an example like when anger arises, pain arises at the same time. When anger passes, pain passes away. When greed arises, pain arises. When greed passes away, pain passes away. You can see this connection. And that is the simplest way I can tell you how dependent origination works. You can apply this to any situation. Two things always come together. They always exist as pair. One cause, the other is result, happening at the same time. Pain, when ignorance arises, confusion arises. Ignorance passes away, confusion passes away at the same time. So some people say dependent co-arising because of that. Whatever the scholars like to use, whatever terms, but this is the formula. Yes, you can break it only when you break the previous cause of that link.
Thank you, Bhante.
You are welcome.
The next question pertains to Samma Sankappa, or right intention.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly, this person is wondering about the benefits of Nekkhamma Sankappa, intention of creation, how it's beneficial to us on the path.
Of course, Nekkhamma Sankappa means thought of renunciation. Renunciation means letting go some people say renunciation is leaving home and going to a monastery, shave a head and put on yellow robe and so on. That is another renunciation. But the fundamental meaning or basic meaning of renunciation is letting go of our greed, hatred, and delusion. That is called real renunciation. When we have greed, we practice generosity to let go of our greed. Thought of renunciation. Thought of renunciation is the thought of letting go. You don't have to go to monastery and so on. When greed arises, immediately you can become mindful and let go of this greed. When anger arises, be mindful. Seeing pain coming from anger, you let go of that anger. That is called renunciation. Nekkhamma sankappa. So nekkhamma in final analysis means letting go of desire, clinging, craving. And then when you develop that very earnestly for a long time, then you will learn to let go of not 1, 2, 3, 4 things, but many things, and then you do the final renunciation, like leaving home, becoming monks and attaining enlightenment, or staying home, and also let go of all the attachment to everything in home, household life, and attain liberation. So in essence, I must say, nekkhamma sankappa means thought of letting go our desire, anger and confusion, letting go. Okay.
Sadhu, Bhante. Bhante, the next question is, how does our internal practice affect our external health during this global health context?
You know, we believe that when we develop our mind, even for a short period of time, mind becomes very pure, clean. With that pure and clean state of mind, we can wish. This is called Satya Kriya in Pali. Satya Kriya. That means we base our wish on the truth. Truth is that we sincerely remove greed, hatred, and delusion, at least for a short period of time. During that time, our mind is very pure and clean, honestly. With this, if we all, as I mentioned, unite in this practice and make a firm wish, that wish has a great energy, and that energy can reach individuals or all beings, even collectively, and that way they get cured, not just by wishing, but that also helps them to recover. For instance, when somebody hears that we all are wishing them well-being and happiness, their minds become very relaxed and they feel they are not alone. The whole world is with them and supporting them. That feeling, that sense, that thought helps them to increase their or generate the positive hormone in their body, mind, brain, and then circulate all around. And then that way their recovery becomes faster. So we strongly believe in that.
Thank you, Bhante. And I also I keep seeing that meditation is a strong support to the immune system
Sure,
as well.
sure.
The next question, Bhante, is what do you think of Visuddhimagga? Is it necessary for liberation?
Visuddhimagga is a very big commentary, and I think if somebody were to read and study and memorize Visuddhimagga, it takes a very long time. Secondly, there are many confusing explanations in Visuddhimagga. Now, as the Dhamma is available to people, they can read and find out some weaknesses in Visuddhimagga. Therefore, not everybody agrees with everything that Venerable Buddha Ghosa said in Visuddhimagga. So it has become now a controversial thing. But there are many beautiful things as well. I don't discount that. Therefore, for some people, it is the whole text for meditation. But I don't think it is complete text for meditation for everybody. Because in the discourses, Buddha has very clearly mentioned how we must practice and what to do during practice and how we get rid of our greed, hatred, and delusion. These are very clearly mentioned. Unfortunately, people who don't have time or energy to read discourses, they go for Visuddhimagga, which is more confusing because of, even very simple thing, when you go on explaining in very, very great detail, you lose the essence. You forget the central point because of so many other things surround that particular essence, core, heart of that teaching. And therefore, I personally don't recommend, just like anything, for people to spend long time trying to read Visuddhimagga and understand the Dhamma. And there are many good things also. So one has to read it and find out for oneself which is beneficial to that person, which is not too much details and so forth. The person has to make the choice. So I cannot say it is, I have to be very sort of neutral or impartial with regard to Visuddhimagga explanations. Okay, friends, as I mentioned this morning, 10 minutes before 7 we start, and 10 minutes before 8 we wind down. And now I want to wish once again all those who are in suffering, pain, distress, and disappointment, be free from their suffering, stress, and disappointment, and may they return to their regular, ordinary daily life and live long in very good health. With this very sincere, earnest wish, let us end this session, and I must say good night.